I struggled mightily with letting go. It was difficult for me to accept my divorce, and letting go, the process of letting go, felt like I was giving up on the possibility of reconciliation.
You know, it's interesting because I really would have thought I would have an easy time letting go. I mean, I had prayed for a year asking God to try and tell me what it is I was supposed to do, and I was the one that chose to get the divorce. But nothing prepares you, I don't think, for really, truly letting it go and realizing that it's the end of the dreams and the hopes that, you know, you had for years planned on. And for me, it was almost like it was going to be a black hole and there was no future. And so to let go meant to almost a fear of my going into that black hole, and I would cease to be a person and I'd cease to sort of have a life. It was scary.
So the issue with letting go back when this was happening is, again, it happens to be a period of your life where you feel like your life has collapsed. For me, my priorities were all around family and faith. So something that I put top priority in was now being taken from me. So what you should be doing is letting go, and what you're doing actually the opposite is as if you're drowning in a lake and you're grasping at anything that anyone will throw you, whether it's a little twig or a life raft. You're grasping for anything. So it's the opposite of letting go. You're grasping.
Letting go can be a very tough thing to do, but it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It maybe begins with simply as that kind of dawning awareness that you're being asked to do something, to detach yourself from the past or from the hurts and to move on.
It was difficult for me to let go and to go from complete intimacy to not sharing any things about our lives, having so vested so heavily for so much time with her.
And I think that that's probably, you know, the craving and the wanting to let go is there, but the knowledge or the emotional acceptance to do it is not.
To let go of the idea of a family and what you have dreamed all your life of what a family is and what a husband is and what a child will be like and everything. And that is so hard to, you know, wait a second, we already have this picture. And then you'll see somebody else's picture and it looks just like what you wanted your picture to look like.
There were so many shared memories. And at some level I didn't want to dismiss or forget about all those great times. I grew very close to her family as she grew very close to mine. And in my daily life, everywhere I turned, there were reminders of her. And at some level, I didn't want to let go. I took comfort in not letting go because I didn't have to face the challenges of starting my life anew. And even today, almost a year removed from my divorce, I think about my wife every day.
Unfortunately, in the process of divorcing, we can focus so much on the faults and failings of this other person and the way that they've treated us badly that we inadvertently give them power over immense portions of our life. So my happiness now is somehow not possible without this person treating me well or this person coming back around to love me the way that I always hoped that they would. I think part of letting go is accepting that while this person was very special, a lot of what we're experiencing is us. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy. Sometimes it's our fears and our anger and our resentment that causes us much more pain than the other person.
Where I knew I got to the phase of I needed to let go was when I'd see the pain or the hurt in my children's eyes that I wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't the mom that they knew because I was hurting all the time. I was running off to my room to shut the door and cry. And I think that at that point you say, you know, you have to do something. And for women that don't have children, or men going through this that don't have children, I think it's something happens like that, whether it's their job, you know, they're not getting something, they're not being productive, they can't get things done. I think if something hits you immediately where you just know.
So one night I couldn't sleep, and I had all these fears. Fear of our company's downsizing, so fear of losing a job. I'm fighting for custody. I want the kids back. My ex-wife, she can be very deceitful, and she can play all these things against me. So I woke up one night and I actually said to God, I'm frightened out of my mind. I don't know what to do. I just said, I'm scared. Sunday at church, the priest, in the middle of his sermon, just stopped talking. And he said, I have a message. Those of you who are afraid, God can't get to you until you release that fear. And he went back to his sermon. It's like a commercial break. It was the freakiest thing I've ever heard and seen. He stopped. So what I learned by that is letting go of whatever it is that you have, and at that moment for me was fear. I had to let go of fear, because until you let that go, God can't get through to you.
One of the reasons we have trouble letting go in general is because I find in my experience is with people is that we've probably made some mistakes along the way, and we don't like to admit our mistakes. And in order to let go, we have to admit the things we have failed to do, that we would have liked to have done, that we weren't as good a person as we would have liked to have been, that we didn't love as fully as we should have loved. It doesn't mean you're to blame or you've done something bad, but it does mean there have been times you've probably failed, and that is a hard thing to admit, that we've made mistakes. But we can't get on with our lives until we acknowledge that, till we seek to repair damage if we've done any damage, and to improve ourselves, to be better. And again, that's the piece, though, that's can be the blessing that we grow in this process.
So one thing I learned is that letting go, you don't do it once. It's occurring all the time. So you have to continue to let go. And that's one thing I had to learn, because I thought once you let go, you're fine. But I learned it keeps coming back.
With letting go, there's understandably a huge grief process. It's very, very difficult for a person to say, I realize that my marriage has ended. And it is not the same as saying that whatever that person did was okay, nor is it to say that divorce is a good thing. It simply says that there is a time and a place for everything, and that until I begin to let go of what's happened, I truly can't be there for my children, for myself, or for my family.
I think for me, I took a lot of baby steps. I realized that it was time to take myself back, to do the things that I would do without question prior to my marriage. I cut my hair, quit dyeing it. I went through the house and I got rid of things that reminded me of the past life. And I painted every room in the house a different color. I've changed things. I removed old things that were reminders of the past that really weren't anything that I needed to hang on to, and have embraced what the future holds, which is very different from what the past was.
You learned from the past, and it's there as a great tool, but you have to just let it be the past. And as we say in work, don't drive with your rearview mirror. Look forward.
There was just a day, I think everybody knows when they hit acceptance. To me, acceptance equates to letting go. And I think that when you hit that day, you know it. And it just, for me, happened to be when my son looked at me with tears in his eyes, and he's like, Mom, why are you still crying? What are you crying about? And I felt like, I don't know, So, yeah, that's not to belittle the pain, because I think that people need to give themselves time to grieve. I think everyone needs the time to grieve, and not to shorten that, because it's going to come back and they'll have to grieve later. I think going through it in the stages you're supposed to is normal and appropriate. But I come to a point where somebody, whether you're sitting in traffic or your boss says something that you completely missed and it's due, or your child looks at you with tears in their eyes, you know that it's time to let go.